Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. Check.
Every document I read. That's just black. That's just black. That's just black. You know, gotta have a partner. Look at my face.
Every journey we take in this life starts with a single step. My journey at Brookdale started with that step.
We are all starting a new adventure. Thank you for helping me get my start at Brookdale.
Teaching is all about encouraging a passion.
We are from many countries. We have many things in common to live our American dream.
I believe that education is empowering.
Brookdale is number one. We will always be number one.
Brookdale is the best community college, the finest community college in the entire state of New Jersey.
here for one purpose only: student learning.
Over 18,000 students annually, flexible schedules, commitment to student success. Welcome to Brookdale. Convenience of 6 physical campuses throughout Monmouth County. Freehold, Hazlitt, Long Branch, Neptune, Lincroft, and Wall. Plus our 7th campus, online. Amazing campus life. Brookdale will help you craft and share your story. Impressive sports programs. First-rate student services. Career services help you land your first job. One Brookdale. Academic excellence. Our commitment to demonstrate a consistent level of teaching and service throughout the entire college.
Students are now earning their Rutgers bachelor's degrees at Brookdale Community College's flagship campus.
Brookdale Community College. You are the future. Welcome.
If you're looking to have fun and meet some people with the same interests as you came to the right place. Here at Brookdale, we have the Involvement Fair, where over 30 different clubs and activities are showing students what they're all about and trying to recruit new members. If you like math, poetry, writing, theater, odds are you find the group that's right for you. Let's go check it out.
My name is Justice Lawless, and I'm here looking at all the clubs. So far, I saw the Outdoor Sports Club, the Student Life Board, and the Education Club.
And my name is Isaiah Brinson, and I am the treasurer for the Architecture Society. Our goal is to try to bring in the incoming students who are interested in architecture, get them accustomed, pair them up with a second year so they understand and so they know, like sort of like a guide or a mentor to help them out during their first year.
My name is Bailey. I'm the president of Theater Club. What we do every week is we do a lot of improvisational games. And there's no experience necessary, no participation necessary. If you just want to come and have fun, then that's kind of what we're here for. This semester, we've also made it a point to kind of switch things up a bit. So we have like a t-shirt day, we're celebrating Halloween and Thanksgiving, and we have a partnership with Alliance. So we have a date where we're going to collaborate.
I'm really interested in performing arts, so I was looking at like theater club and a cappella, but I've seen clubs that have to do with like anime, and there's like all different types for literally every interest.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yes. Well, guys, I think I found the club that's right for me. To learn more, visit our website at brookdalecc.edu. I'm Sophia Pearl with Brookdale Television. Thanks for watching. Oh, na, na, na. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Brookdale Foundation 38th Annual Education Open Golf Outing was held today at Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club in Farmingdale. We had a spectacular day, a sellout crowd. We had our scholarship students here to thank our donors, to conduct the putting contest on the first tee. We had team prizes, we had individual prizes, we had a live auction, a silent auction, and we raised a lot of money for scholarships for our Brookdale students.
I'm here to support Brookdale Community College and all that it stands for in helping the scholarship opportunities for young children who don't normally have an opportunity, of all different backgrounds and shapes and sizes and colors. It's a very, very fulfilling feeling for me, and I'm glad to be here to support it financially and spiritually.
We had a student here with us tonight whose family was severely impacted by Hurricane Sandy 5 years ago, and they're still struggling to get back on their feet.
The scholarships helped relieve a tremendous amount of pressure, mainly on my parents. Every cent that they make currently and every bit of free time that they have goes towards trying to fix our home. So the idea of them having to pay for me, first of all, makes me feel very guilty because they're already working so hard. This semester particularly, we weren't really sure how we were going to pay for it. And there was a lot of debate as to whether I should take the semester off or I should continue. And that's when I emailed the Brookdale Foundation, and they gave me the application, and the money paid for my tuition and for my books, and they gave me extra money for living expenses, and I can't even express how much it's helped and how much pressure it's taken off of my parents, because every cent that I'm able to keep them from spending on me is a cent that goes towards fixing our home.
We're glad to
Over 18,000 students annually, flexible schedules, commitment to student success. Welcome to Brookdale.
Let's go!
Every journey we take in this life starts with a single step. My journey at Brookdale started with that step.
We are all starting a new adventure. Thank you for helping me get my start at Brookdale.
Teaching is all about encouraging a passion.
We are from many countries. We have many things in common to live our American dream.
I believe that education is empowering.
Brookdale is number one. We will always be number one.
Brookdale is the best community college, the finest community college in the entire state of New Jersey.
1, 2.
We are here for one purpose only: student learning.
Over 18,000 students annually, flexible schedules, commitment to student success. Welcome to Brookdale. Convenience of 6 physical campuses throughout Monmouth County. Freehold, Hazlitt, Long Branch, Neptune, Lincroft, and Wall. Plus our 7th campus, online. Amazing campus life. Brookdale will help you craft and share your story. Impressive sports programs. First-rate student services. Career services help you land your first job. One Brookdale. Academic excellence. Our commitment to demonstrate a consistent level of teaching and service throughout the entire college.
Students are now earning their Rutgers bachelor's degrees at Brookdale Community College's flagship campus.
Brookdale Community College. You are the future. Welcome.
Who's the 3 here? You?
And Dave Stepp.
If you're looking to have fun and meet, wait, hold on. If you're looking to have fun and meet some people with the same interests as you came to the right place. Here at Brookdale, we have the Involvement Fair where over 30 different clubs and activities are showing students what they're all about and trying to recruit new members. If you like math, poetry, writing, theater, odds are you find the group that's right for you. Let's go check it out.
My name is Justice Lawless, and I'm here looking at all the clubs. So far, I saw the Outdoor Sports Club, the Student Life Board, and the Education Club.
And my name is Ziad Ahmed, and I am the treasurer for the Architecture Society. Our goal is to try to bring in the incoming students who are interested in architecture, get them accustomed, pair them up with a second year so they understand and so they know, like sort of like a guide or a mentor to help them out during their first year.
My name is Bailey. I'm the president of Theater Club. What we do every week is we do a lot of improvisational games, and there's no experience necessary, no participation necessary. If you just want to come and have fun, then that's kind of what we're here for. This semester, we've also made it a point to kind of switch things up a bit. So we have like a teacher day. We're celebrating Halloween and Thanksgiving. And
Good morning.
With Alliance, so we have a day where we're going to collaborate.
I'm really interested in performing arts, so I was looking at like theater club and acapella, but I've seen clubs that have to do with like anime, and there's like all different types for literally every interest.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 37th Annual Colloquium entitled We Are Chhange, Our Voices Matter. I am Dale Daniels, and I am the Executive Director of Chhange, the Center for Holocaust, Human Rights, and Genocide Education at Brookdale Community College. We have come together today so we can thank you, so we can be inspired together, and so we can move forward on an urgent mission, and that is to raise your voices on the issues today, on the crises in our world today that are important to you. For it is you, all of you here filling this arena, you are the ones, your voices matter. Last year, after the horrific killings at Marjorie Douglas Stoneman High School in Parkland, Florida, our nation and the world watched as your generation, your peers, stood up to say, enough is enough. Your generation, your peers took action on the streets, in the halls of Congress, and with our New Jersey legislature to make our schools safer places. We at Chhange are inspired by the power you, our young people, have, and to drive home the need that you need to make a difference in our world. I wish I could stand here today and say the violence in our schools has stopped. Sadly, we are still witnessing it in our schools, our religious institutions, and elsewhere. And at Chhange, we hear from you, from the students we visit in classrooms, from the students who visit us with our exhibit, from the students who participated this year in our art installation. You tell us about the many concerns that you have. You have anxiety and depression. There is alcohol abuse. You experience bullying. You worry about homelessness and human trafficking, ocean pollution, political extremism, gender discrimination, and much more. It sounds and it feels overwhelming. But, and there's a big but, we have the ability and we have the responsibility to change this. Take a moment and look around the arena. When we work together, imagine what we will accomplish. Before you leave this campus today, I have no doubt that our speakers, both here in this arena and in your workshops, will inspire you. Our speakers today represent this group. They are individuals from different backgrounds, religions, races, ethnicities, and life experiences, all with one thing in common. They are actively working to make a positive change in our world. They have already made their voices matter, but yours do too. In just a few minutes, we will hear from our 5 keynote speakers. Speakers who are between the ages of 12 and 22, your ages, your peers, and these individuals are true leaders in our community. And we have no doubt that each one of you sitting here can be a leader too. As I said, today is the 37th annual Colloquium for Chhange. But what I haven't said yet is that it is, and tomorrow marks the actual day, the 40th anniversary of the founding of our center, the Center for Holocaust, Human Rights, and Genocide Education, by Professor Jack Needle and by his colleagues, Dr. Seymour Siegler and Dean Norma Klein, both of blessed memory. We thank them, our founders, for their vision, their wisdom, their compassion, and their leadership. And we are really honored at Chhange with your help to carry forward their work. Moving Chhange forward with us today is our many members of our board, and Howard Dorman, the president of the Chhange Board of Directors. So Howard, I'd just like you to stand and acknowledge the crowd. And we thank all of our board of directors for being here this morning. Before we hear from our keynote speakers, there are a few other thank yous. This event happens thanks to the assistance of many. Our students are here today thanks to the efforts of their teachers and administrators. Educators face many challenges in today's classrooms, including finding time and funding to participate in events like today. But Chhange gives them an additional challenge. Today, as is often true at Chhange, we face the tough issues: stereotypes, transgender rights, violence in schools, immigration. Today, these are volatile subjects. It is not easy for school administrators to put their commitments to the test and raise these difficult concerns in their schools by bringing you here today to this program. But we all know that these are problems that impact us, all of you, every day. So my heartfelt thanks to the educators who chose to be with us today. And I ask each student here to thank your teachers, and especially your administrators, because they have trusted you. They have put their trust in you to handle the hard stuff and to move forward and make a difference. With great appreciation, we also want to thank our sponsors of today's event: Hackensack Meridian Health, Audrey and Jerry Harnick, Barbara Levy and Joe Hollander, the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, Mazars USA, New Jersey Natural Gas, Ocean First Foundation, PNC Bank, Myrna and Bob Raskin, the Judith and David Rivkin Foundation, and Two River Community Bank. Chhange may not be a village, but clearly we have a huge team of people who bring this colloquium together. We had a screen up here earlier. I hope you had the time to read the names of the many members of the Chhange team listed on the screen, as well as the many members of the Brookdale Community College staff who were working hard before and during this program. In particular, I want to mention the Chhange staff, Nicole Rizzuto, Allie Evans, and Karen Finkelstein, because without them, none of this would happen and nothing would happen at Chhange. So my heartfelt thanks to all of them. Chhange is fortunate to always have Brookdale Community College as our partner in everything that we do. Today, we are honored to have Dr. David Stout, president of the college, here to share a few words. Dr. Stout.
Good morning. On behalf of the entire Brookdale community, I welcome our speakers and our guests that are here with us today. Brookdale is proud of our long-standing partnership over 40 years with the Center for Holocaust, Human Rights, and Genocide Education. It started with a lecture 40 years ago, and the accomplishments, the activities that Chhange is involved in today are just astounding. From a colloquium like this, 37th annual colloquium, to the student art installation, to the programs that are meant for law enforcement and clergy education, and juveniles that have been offenders. This Center for Holocaust, Human Rights, and Genocide Education has made a difference in the lives of thousands of people over that time frame. And I have to acknowledge the leadership of Executive Director Dale Daniels and the Board of Directors under the leadership of Howard Dorman, all of the volunteers who work with Chhange. Thank you for your commitment to not only educating people about hate and the conditions that encourage it, but also for the actions that you encourage people to take, such as what we're going to hear about today. And I also wanted to mention, before I go any further, that this is the last of the colloquia that will be overseen under the direction of Executive Director Dale Daniels. She'll be retiring at the end of this academic year. And I want to thank you for all of your years of service to Chhange. If you would join me in applause for Dale for her service. Through this colloquium and significant other events throughout the year, Chhange raises awareness to combat hate speech, bigotry, and acts of violence against individuals due to their background, their ethnicity, their religion, their gender, gender identity, and sexual orientation. We're proud to have Holocaust survivors with us today who will share their stories this morning. Earlier this month, Chhange and Brookdale hosted a moving Yom HaShoah commemoration of the Holocaust, and survivors and many others gathered together to talk about genocide and conditions that will lead to it. The impact of hateful words and speech that can often escalate into acts of violence. Unfortunately, we continue to see the number of incidents of hate speech and acts of violence continue to increase in our nation. Third year in a row, according to the FBI statistics, acts of violence continue to increase. In 2017, which is the last year that we have accurate numbers from the FBI, acts of violence, hate-based acts of violence increased by 17%, 23% of which were directed towards people for their religious beliefs, and leading the pack, 37% were anti-Semitic. So we continue to see these acts of violence that often begin with a hateful word or a hateful gesture. So social psychologists tell us that there are certain conditions that lead people to be bystanders. They discourage people from acting. These can sometimes be matters of self-absorption, confusion, fear, apathy. A sick kind of zero-sum game where other people lose, that means I can win. And most often people will follow the crowd. We are social creatures, so we're affected by the social influences from the things that are around us. So what we're going to focus on today, obviously, is using our voice to become upstanders, to become everyday heroes, people who decide to not only to act, but also to help to shape the environment, because when we act, other people are also likely to act. So we are very proud to have with us some amazing speakers, student upstanders who will speak to you today. Ziad, Brenda, Sarah, Christianah, and Rebekah all share a passion for justice and equality and refuse to remain silent, and they refuse to be bystanders. I'd also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Brenda. She's one of our Brookdale alumna. These students are courageous, they're committed to action, and they inspire others to stand up for what's right. I applaud you. I join the crowd in applauding you for your efforts and for your accomplishments. I know that I speak for everyone here when I say that we look forward to hearing your insights and your suggestions on how we can mobilize people and resources to combat injustice. I know, too, that the many workshops and breakout sessions that follow will also provide inspiration and timely strategies for making a difference. Welcome here this morning, and I wish you all inspiration.
Before I forget, I want to let you all know that this event is being filmed and live streamed on Brookdale TV, YouTube, so you can find that later. So Please take a look at it. Hopefully you'll find many interesting points and you'll want to hear some of our great speakers again. So now we're going to move on from a man who is clearly a leader and a role model and a hero here at Brookdale to some young ones in our community. But before I do that, I'm just going to give these young people who were delayed, I'm sure because of transportation, a moment to sit, and then we'll continue. Okay, it looks like we're just about at an end. They're almost all seated. Great. Thanks for coming back to attention so quickly. I appreciate that. So it's my pleasure now to move on to introducing our young heroes, leaders, and role models. And first to speak this morning will be Ziad Ahmed. Ziad is 20 years old and from Princeton, New Jersey. He just completed, well, he did tell me he has one more essay to write, so he's almost completed his sophomore year at Yale University, where he is pursuing a double major in cognitive science and global affairs. Ziad is the founder of Redefy.org, an online teen organization committed to defying stereotypes, redefining perspectives positively, embracing acceptance and tolerance, and creating an active community. And if that wasn't enough, he is also co-founder of JUV Consulting, Inc., a youth consultant firm which empowers teens to communicate their marketing needs directly with major businesses such as Bloomberg Businessweek and Business Insider. For his activism, Ziad was named on MTV's Top 9 Teens Changing the World, and he also was on Forbes' list of 30 under 30. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Ziad Ahmed.
Thank you. So I'm really thrilled to be here as the first speaker. And what I want to start by doing is I want to ask you all to start with intention, right? You are all here, you get the day off from school, you're here to learn something. Why are you here? What is your hope to get out of the day? Life is far too precious just to be here to sit, just to be here to be on your phone without getting caught. Some of you are pretty good, I've been noticing. I hope it's to follow us on Instagram or Twitter. I'm at Ziad the Activist. But more than that, why are you here? When you leave this room today, what do you hope to gain? If we start with that, hopefully by the end of this, right? Hopefully by the end of my speech and by the end of the day, you'll be able to say, I did or I did not meet my goal. My goal today, in talking to you, is not to list off the things that I've done, which I've been very, very lucky to do, but is to instead impart something that makes you a little bit more motivated to do something. I don't need to tell you that right now, it's a scary time to be a young person. There's a lot happening in the world that we can't control. There's a lot of things that might make you mad, that might make you sad. I know that there are a lot of things that make me sad, right, that make me mad. And I think that it's really easy as young people. It's really easy to be like, okay, well, this blows, but our time is later. You know, what can I do right now? I think so often as young people, we are told our time is later. That our time to be an entrepreneur, to be an activist, to be a change maker, to be a disruptor, to ask hard questions is later. But what I'm here today to tell you is our time is now and it must be now. What's happening right now, whether it's gun violence, or whether it's a refugee crisis, or whether it's whatever is happening in the world that makes you upset, that you watch the headlines and you're like, how is this even happening? How is this real? Our time is now to do something about it. Right? Change exists to remember the atrocities that have happened before us. But there are atrocities that are happening right now. And what we exist today to do is to say we must do something about them if we're going to remember these atrocities with honor. Let us be the generation that says never again and means it. Let us be the generation that says enough is enough and means it. I believe that we can. I believe in the endless capacity of our generation to do, to ask hard questions. Right? I'm Ziad. I'm a 20-year-old American Muslim. I grew up in Princeton, New Jersey, and I am a product of my privilege. And I would be foolish to stand up here in front of you and to not acknowledge that fact. I was able to start a nonprofit when I was in 8th grade because I had access to a computer. You know, because I had financial resources in my town that allowed for donations to my nonprofit, etc. I am a product of my privilege, and we are all a product of our intersecting privileges and disadvantages that we experience as individuals. And I am not here to say that just because I did, you must do the same. That's actually the opposite of what I'm here to say. I am conscious of my privilege as a male. I am conscious of my privilege as someone from Princeton, New Jersey. I am conscious of the things that I have had access to that have meant that I could do certain things that might not be as easy for others to do. But what I do know is there's something that we can all do. What I do know is what happened to me was, and this is familiar, I think, to a lot of you, I switched schools in 7th grade. So I grew up at an all-boys Catholic school. And then I switched school to a co-ed secular school in 7th grade. And I remember walking into the lunchroom. And I grew up at an all-boys Catholic school, and I grew up in a household of all girls other than me because my parents were separated when I was young. And girls were sitting at one table, and boys were sitting at another table, right? And all the boys' tables wanted to talk about were girls in sports. And I was like, that's it? And I got to thinking, why? When I wake up in the morning, you know, why do I put on boys' clothes? Why do at the girls' tables we talk about one thing and boys' tables we talk about other things? Why do the different tables even exist? And I got to thinking about how so many of us, right, especially as young people, feel like we have to be something because of how we identify, because of how we were born, because of who society tells us we have to be. And so many boys, I mean, every boy in my grade dressed the exact same, as if creativity or fashion didn't exist. Because that's all they thought they were allowed to be. And I thought, why? Why is this way? And it has to do with what Dale mentioned, right? We're living in times where stereotypes control so much of how society operates. And so I got to thinking, okay, as an American Muslim in a rising climate of Islamophobia, of anti-blackness, of misogyny, of homophobia, of so many perverse forms of bigotry and discrimination, where is this stemming from? And I think so much of injustice and discrimination stems from not of malice, but of not knowing how to treat the other, not knowing how to breach difference, not knowing how to talk to somebody who has different vocabulary than you, not knowing how to talk to somebody who has different interests than you, that has different lived experience than you, not knowing where and how to share your story. And so what I did was, in my 8th grade year, I came up with this idea. The only way that we're going to be able to do something about this is by telling our stories. And so Redefy was born at the end of my 8th grade year, with this idea being that we're going to fight prejudice with education, by telling each other stories, by learning from one another, by coming together in community and saying, together we can learn about one another, right? I think that when we humanize our perceptions of each other, it's so hard to hate somebody you know. So we just got to get to know each other a little bit more. And I think that we're living in times characterized by an us versus them narrative, right? So often we're being pitted against each other. People are telling us that we're so different, that people in other countries are so different and are out to get us. When you actually have a conversation with somebody, when you actually get to know, what they're about, what they stand for, we realize that we're not that different, right? And we might believe different things, but maybe we still want the same thing. And so I started Redefy. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I had no idea. I did not speak like this when I was in 8th grade. I had no idea what I was doing. But I did know that I wanted to do something. And one big thing I want to impart today is social media was a huge part of that for me, right? Because I had Twitter, because I had Facebook, because I had, and you probably don't use Facebook, because I had Instagram, right? I was able, when we first launched in September of 2013, we got over 1,000 hits on our website the first day. And today's numbers, that isn't that big, but at that time it felt like we'd broken the internet, right? And that happened because through social media we shared a message that we were going to do something to stand against these stereotypes, that we were going to create a platform to tell our own stories, that we weren't going to wait for someone to mobilize for us, we were going to mobilize ourselves. And it resonated because everyone in this audience, whether you like to admit it or not, has asked yourself the question, who am I? Has asked yourself the question, where do I fit in? Has asked yourself the question, why do I identify the way that I do? Has asked yourself the question, how do people see me? We all ask ourselves these questions, and our schools oftentimes do not provide the infrastructure to answer them. We are expected, oftentimes, as people of color, as the people who identify different ways, to show up the next day in school after having seen people who might look like us brutalized on TV as if nothing happened. We are expected to go to school and perform on the field and to do everything as if things that impact us deeply as people don't affect us. But they do. Right? They really, really do. And I know that because I felt that. Right? As a Muslim, when things happen to the American Muslim community, right? When a New Zealand mosque is attacked, I am expected the next day to go to school, right? And act as if nothing has happened. I am expected to feel as safe in my own skin. And there are very few forums and places for us to talk about these things sensitively and responsibly, peer-to-peer. And so we created a forum to do so. We started conversation series, we started doing conferences, events, and it resonated. Because we need these spaces, we have these questions. And it doesn't matter if you are a minority or not a minority or ever, we ask ourselves these questions. Is it my community next? Am I really safe in my own skin? Will it be my friend next? Will it be my brother? We ask ourselves these questions because we are living in times that are scary. And where are the spaces for us to realize what we can do about that anger, about that angst? And so we resonated and we kept on growing and growing and growing because, people needed this space. And my sophomore year, MTV News shot me an email out of the blue and wrote this profile on me and Redefy and changed my life overnight. I went from some kid in Princeton doing some cool project, to national news. They read a local Princeton Patch article and thought my story was cool, and that article blew up, and that same day the White House called me, that the article was posted. Fast forward, I end up eating dinner with President Obama at 16 years old. I end up meeting with industry leaders, major presidential candidates, all sorts of crazy things as a teenager. And I don't say that, to brag. I say that because it's possible. I say that because I started tweeting about some things. I started mobilizing with my friends. And we got the ear of the president within 2 years. I say that because that same power exists within this room. I know it does. I've seen it happen to people far beyond myself, and these folks and the many folks that I've been very privileged to work with, you all are way cooler than I am. Trust me, way cooler than I am, and are capable of way, way bigger and better things. And so that happened, right? And I found myself in rooms where so often I was the only young person, or I was asked to speak on behalf of Generation Z. And I realized how abysmal the understanding of young people is. That so often we are assumed to not want a seat at the table, or that people can just assume about us what we want, what we need. That so often the people who are making decisions about our lives have no idea what our lives even look like. And I found myself being asked ridiculous, mundane questions about Generation Z, and I was like, how are you guys understanding us right now? And it's through focus groups or research. And so I started Juve Consulting my junior year of high school, this idea being that if anyone's going to profit off of young people, it should be young people. Right? With this idea being that people, companies, nonprofits are going to benefit more if we have a seat at the table to represent our own interests because no one knows us better than ourselves. There doesn't need to be 50-year-old youth experts. We've been here. We out here. Right? We can speak for ourselves. And it shouldn't be a new or novel idea, but we've been picked up by Bloomberg Business Week and Business Insider because, and the New York Times and et cetera, because no one's done this before. All right? So we're coming to the table, hundreds of young people strong, saying, hear us and pay us for it. And I do that, and that's what I spend a lot of my time doing now is running Juve Consulting as CEO and co-founder, and I love what I do. But I also spend a lot of time engaged in progressive advocacy, working alongside gun violence advocates, working alongside people who are pushing, for greater rights for minorities and people of color and queer folks. And I spend a lot of my time working in politics and working with DoSomething.org and Women's March Youth and et cetera, and using my voice wherever I can to speak up about things that matter, and we all can. Right? Most of you in this room have social media accounts. A lot of you might not want to post political content because you think you'll lose followers. Well, people are losing lives. So what's more important? What's more important? Your follower count or speaking up for things that matter right now? I don't care if I lose followers because I spoke up about a shooting at a synagogue. I don't care if I lose followers because I call out something that's happening that means something to me because I care about people. But we are taught and we are told, let our feeds be aesthetic instead of let our feeds be meaningful. And it doesn't have to be that we're all passionate about the same thing. I'm not saying you're all going to be, activist Twitter, stan culture, whatever you want to call it, right? But what I am saying, and what my big plea to young people is when I'm asked to give advice is, pick one thing. One thing that you want to change about the world. Maybe it has to do with the environment. Maybe it has to do with dress code. Maybe it has to do with technology. Maybe it has to do with activism. Pick one thing that makes you mad, that you're just like, why is this happening? One thing. Think about it right now. What's one thing that if you could change tomorrow that you'd want to change? Land on it in your mind. And then think about one thing that you can do to make that thing better. One thing. For me, right, the one thing was, I don't like that we are pigeonholing ourselves in our middle school hallways, and my one thing was, let's have conversations about them. For you, it could be, I don't like my dress code, so I'm going to start a petition. Right? I don't care what the thing is, I care that you have it, that you know it, that you have a plan. And it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it doesn't have to be a company, it doesn't have to be a movement, but let it mean something to you. Right? And if we pick that one thing and then we get together with other people, right? Generation Z, we're known as the plurals because we think in terms of we. I bet you, whatever you all thought of right now, some people sitting next to you had the same thing in mind. Thought about the same thing in your hallways, in your life that impacted them just as deeply. When we unite that power, when we galvanize around a shared interest, our power is immeasurable. I've seen it happen. Right, March for Our Lives happened last year, and I think a lot of adults for the first time were like, whoa, young people can do stuff. I think as young people, we already knew that. Right, we knew that we were capable of this, we just weren't given the microphone. And now we're being given the microphone, and I'm grateful to have this one right now. But let this not be the last time for any of us. And so I want you to pick that one thing. I want you to pick one thing that you would do about it. And I want you to try to take a step in that direction. Right, leave here today, when I asked you what your intention was, right, I said I want you to leave here today having learned something, having met your goal in some way. Maybe your intention today was to learn one thing about how to be an activist. Let that one thing that I impart upon you to be to pick one thing and to do one thing about it. Right, it's a basic, fundamental concept. I don't care if you're 10, I don't care if you're 20. We can all do something. And maybe you already are. I'm not here to say that you haven't already started. Pick another thing. I'm sure lots of you are already engaged in incredible movements and incredible organizing and speaking up. I'm sure a lot of you are already using your social media to speak up for things that matter. But there's more that we can do, and there's more work that must be done. And we do it better when we do it together, and when we do it better when we don't reinvent the wheel. There's so much incredible work that's already being done. And the greatest tool that I've had, as an activist or as an advocate, is learning from others who've done this work before me, is connecting with mentors. The most powerful thing about Twitter to me is not tweeting. It's the fact that I get to connect with activists who are on the front lines in Ferguson, or who are on the front lines wherever it might be, and being able to connect with them and learn from them directly. My worldview, when I go to the polls, and you better believe that I go to the polls, and if you're of age to register, register. But when I vote, I'm not just thinking about the people who live on my block. I'm thinking about the thousands of people that I'm connected to online. I'm thinking about folks who live on native reservations thousands of miles away from me because I'm connected to them online and learning about their realities. Follow people who challenge your worldview. Connect with them. Ask people hard questions. Don't shy away from discomfort. I know it can be hard, and it can be challenging, and it can be uncomfortable to ask somebody a hard question, to follow somebody new, to not know if they'll follow you back. But we have to. We have to. It's how we learn, it's how we burst out of this moment that's characterized by polarization, that's characterized by us living in so many political silos that we don't actually reach across and build together. I think we can all agree that we want to go to school and feel safe. I think we can all agree that we want each other to feel loved and supported. I think we can all agree that, the youngest ones in this room should always feel protected. The only way that we guarantee that is by fighting for all of our kids, right? Is by fighting for every person of every creed, of every skin color, of every sexuality, of everything that you could imagine under the rainbow and under the umbrella. When we fight for all of us, that's when we thrive. That's when we thrive. I think that so often we're so interested in, what's happening to me and what's happening to my community, and that matters. And I'm not going to pretend that as an American Muslim, I don't disproportionately think about my own community. I think that that's natural, and it oftentimes happens. But I think beautiful moments come out of when we think about, okay, what's happening to other communities? Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I think so often we're limited by our own unique perspective that we fail to acknowledge that something exists because we don't see it. I'm sure some of you in this audience are hearing me speak right now, and you're like, okay, this kid. Because my perspective is so different than yours. What I'm asking you today is to say, just because you don't experience something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just because you are not undocumented does not mean that the struggles of undocumented people are not real. Just because you might not be a person of color does not mean that the experiences that people of color face are not real. Just because me as a male, have not experienced a lot of things that women on a day-to-day basis experience in this country, in this world, does not mean that they are not real. And I operate from a place that believes the oppressed are the experts on their own oppression. Whoever is experiencing that reality is the expert on that reality. And I am nobody that tells somebody else that their reality isn't real. But I think so often what our politicians do, what we do is we say, I don't see it. So it can't be. Say, you can't see it, so it must be. Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not happening to somebody else. It means you're not looking hard enough. It means that you're so focused on your own world that you're not thinking about other people's world. And what I hope is that when you're thinking about that one thing you want to change, you think about how that same thing might affect somebody else differently. You think about how whatever you want to change, how it's all intersectional. We can't talk about racial justice without talking about environmental justice, without talking about economic justice, without talking about gender disparity, without talking about how all of these things intersect and connect. Who I am today is because when I first started, I wasn't that mad. I wasn't that angry. I was like, okay, there's stereotyping, there's discrimination. I had no idea how bad it was. Truly, no idea how bad it was. It's as I've learned about how systemic and institutionalized these problems are, that my voice has gotten louder. Because I have that much more to say, as I've realized that there's so much that I did not see, that I did not know about because I didn't care to ask. Because I didn't care to know. If we want to remember the atrocities that have happened before us, care enough to know. Care enough to know about realities that are not your own and do something about them. Be an ally, be an advocate. Speak up. Just because it isn't happening to your community does not mean that your voice can't help. Does not mean that your voice can't amplify. Find people who are speaking up from that community, retweet them. It's one button. It's one button, but it can go a long way. Show up to protests. Show up to movements. Ask how you can get involved. Make relationships with mentors. Go the extra step and go the extra mile. There's so much happening in the world right now. And I'm not interested, in giving a speech that plates this horrible, bleak, reality where nothing of change is possible. I believe change is possible. I don't believe it happens overnight. And I'm not convinced, that I will ever see the world that I hope to one day see. But I believe we can get a little closer. I believe that we have to get a little closer. I hope and I pray that when you look around the world and when you look around this room, there's so much of the people sitting next to you that that all of us are experiencing that you have no idea about. You have no idea what someone's last night was like. You have no idea how politics are impacting their lives and their families. You have no idea, what people are going through. So when someone asks you today, how are you? Tell them. Tell them. Tell them how you are. Maybe through that one question, if we start asking a little bit more genuinely, not just how are you, but how are you? Who are you? And we cut the small talk and instead we ask each other, really, where is your heart and where is your head at? And where can we build together? It's a simple change in just your inflection. And it can go a long way. So my question to you all today is, how are you? Who are you? And what are you going to do about it? Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Ziad. Okay, so next we're going to hear from Brenda Codallos. Brenda was brought to America by her parents at the age of 4. A native of Mexico, she grew up in Red Bank, New Jersey, where she graduated from Red Bank Regional High School. She received the 2015 Andrew Kroon Memorial Scholarship, which empowers Latino students who have achieved academic success despite great obstacles, and allowed her to attend Brookdale Community College. While here at Brookdale, Brenda served as president of the Dreamers Club at Brookdale and graduated from here in 2018, last spring. She is currently enrolled as a junior at Rutgers University, where she is pursuing a degree in social work. Brenda is a founder of Awaken Community, a Red Bank-based initiative founded to support the rights of immigrants, refugees, and DACA recipients. She has been involved in various immigrant rights initiatives, including United We Dream, and Brenda is currently working with the American Friends Service Committee to create outreach opportunities with immigrant communities in Monmouth County. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Brenda.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, everyone. So my name is Brenda. Sorry, I don't think you guys can hear me. Hi, everyone. So my name is Brenda Codallos. Like she said, I graduated Brookdale in 2018. I'm a DACA recipient, so I qualified for DACA when I was 16 years old, and I went to school to RVR. From there on, so what is DACA? You're pretty much saying, so what is DACA? So DACA was an executive action put by President Obama in 2012. So I was able to continue my education through the help of DACA. DACA gave me pretty much a social security number, it gave me a work permit, and it gave me an identity. So how many people qualified for DACA? 800,000 people across the United States qualified for DACA. So that means anyone who is in school could currently have DACA and has DACA. Unfortunately, in September of 2017, the new president, President Trump, ended DACA. So what does that mean, ended DACA? So anyone who qualified for DACA before still can renew their DACA, but anyone who was able to qualify for those privileges with DACA is not able to apply anymore. So so I graduated 8th grade. I went to RBR and I had DACA. Now that I had DACA, I was playing, soccer, field hockey. I was very well involved. I was very social with my friends, and I had a diverse friendship. So when I had DACA, I was able to, what does everyone get when they're 16? A driver's license, right? So I was able to take a test and get a driver's license. From there on, from driver's license, everyone started working. So I fit in with my group. I didn't feel excluded. Everyone knew I was them. I gave everyone rides. I was influencing others to speak out against anything that they didn't feel comfortable speaking about. So as I continued on my career, I knew I wanted to get involved and help others. So I was like, okay, nursing is my path. I want to help others in a medical perspective. So I enrolled myself into the vocational school district in Monmouth County to become certified to get into nursing school. So I got certified and I started working with the elders. So I got certified as a certified home health aide. From there on, I worked with the elders, I was able to obtain that certification because I had DACA, I had a status, I had an identity. I continued my education, I graduated RBR, and I was able to have the financial need to continue my education through the Andrew Kroon Memorial Scholarship. From there on, I came into Brookdale and I'm like, okay, I need to start getting involved on campus. I need to start knowing what's going on around my community. I need to start speaking up. So from there on, I got involved there was a new club forming called Dreamers Plus. Dreamers Plus was a club organized for DACA recipients and undocumented immigrants and those who are first generation. Who have no idea what a college application is, who have no idea what a resume is, who have no idea what it is to go to college because their parents didn't have a college education, didn't even have a high school education. So I continued there and I got myself involved at Brookdale. I became vice president and I was able to run and spread awareness. Asbury Park Press came and interviewed me and other students on what my status was and how it is to qualify from DACA. From there, I continued and spread awareness. Like I said, I was very involved in my high school, so I was very social. A lot of my friends didn't know about my status. They were like, Brenda, you have DACA? What is that, right? So I informed them. I'm like, yeah, it's like, I explained to them, it gives you a work permit and it gives you a social security number so you're able to become part of a society. They were like, oh, Brenda, you're not just given a social security number when you're born? Or you don't just get a passport and fly in any country you want? I'm like, no. They were like, what? I was giving it all. My parents all give it to me. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work like that. So having to explain it to others and say how the immigration system works is very frustrating because sometimes people were like, oh, wait, there's no line. I'm like, no, there's no line. There's a whole process to the immigration system. So I have to educate others on what the immigration system is. So one very important thing as an activist or future advocate on any social injustice that you see is being educated and knowing what the topic is about, knowing what the example of me, what is the immigration system? How do you qualify for status? How do you obtain status? How do you even apply for one? What are the fees? Is there a financial resource for anything? So as I continued on to Dreamers and continued advocating on Brookdale, I got more involved. My advisor, Ashley, who is actually here in the stands, she was able to help me introduce to Ford US, which was an advocacy group that was like, hey, Brenda, you want to come down to DC and advocate on the DREAM Act? I'm like, sure. I went 3 days in DC and I was able to advocate on the DREAM Act. I met a good 500 people from across the United States who were advocating on this DREAM Act. We went to lobby, we went to members of Congress, we sat with members of Congress, we shared our stories, and that's really important. You share your truth. No one can tell you no, because that's your truth and your reality. So at the end of the day, that helped me understand that I have a purpose, and everyone has a purpose in their life. As I continued on, I came back home, and there was a movement starting around Red Bank. And they were like, you know what, we want to start speaking up. We want to know people, that there's people in their community that are affected by certain policies. Policies that are currently impacted right now, currently going on in our members of Congress. So these policies are impacting us. They were like, Brenda, we want to start something. I'm like, all right, in order to start something, we need a name. So they were like, what kind of name? So we started finding names, literally, we were all in a room trying to writing down ideas of what our purpose was gonna be, what our mission was, and what our name was gonna be. We came out with the Waking Community. We had members of press come out, we had people speak on what our mission was and continued on. From there, I continued my advocacy work and was able to influence others on speaking out and coming out and sharing their stories, because a lot of people don't know that they're impacted. I had a friend once come out when he saw my article. He was like, Brenda, you're not them. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not them? They were like, well, you don't have an accent. You're not as dark. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I am them. So then he stepped back and was like, you know what, Brenda, I'm sorry. Like, I was ignorant. I didn't want to acknowledge that there's a reality to this world. And I'm like, yeah, and now that you know that I was the one giving you a rise or hanging out with you, now, you know, it's very important to share that story and tell them, hey, like, I'm impacted. My friend is impacted. My best friend is impacted. Ask your friends, what is their social injustice? It's very important to know what they go through, even if they're first generation too. Parents who are undocumented, parents who don't have the support system, who don't qualify for any financial aid sometimes. So as I continued on through Brookdale, I was able to see that, you know, I did a lot on this campus. I decided to switch from nursing to go into social work because I was like, I wanted to work with people who have social concerns, who have social issues. And I'm like, that's who defines me as a person who wants to help others. So as I continued my path, I went on to Rutgers University. Now I'm currently the president of UndocuRutgers. UndocuRutgers is also a movement at Rutgers University that spurs awareness on immigrant rights and on undocumented immigrants. It's, you know, it's a whole journey and a process that I look back and I'm like, it all started because I accepted that I wanted to make a change. And it all starts with you. It all starts with me. So find that path, find that journey, find that mission, find that certain problem that you really care about and speak out about it. Whether it comes to LGBT, whether it comes to women's rights, whether it comes to gun violence, whether it comes to Muslims, any certain social injustice you see that you care about, speak about it. And also know that there's gonna be paths, in your path, there's gonna be networks. There's gonna be people who will give you an opportunity to do things. As I was continuing, throughout my process of advocating, I met a lot of people. I came across this lady who was from AFSC, American Friends Service Committee. The American Friends Service Committee, I met her in Elizabeth. She was actually just in an event, and I decided to go because of my advocacy work. She was like, Brenda, we're actually looking for an intern to advocate in Monmouth County for community outreach. I was like, okay, thank you. I took that information, I came back, and I spread that information to everyone I knew was interested. Throughout my path, I realized, wait, why am I not applying for this internship? So I decided to apply. I filled out the application. I get a phone call within a week or two. Brenda, we would like to interview you for this position. I went to the interview. They were fascinated by the work that I was doing in lobbying, talking to members of Congress, and just the work that I was doing around my community. So they were like, okay, Brenda, you're hired. I got a job as a coordinator for Monmouth County and advocate and spread awareness on immigrant rights. I was only 19 at the time, and I was like, wow, like I'm really here. And it was because of the work that I did. It was because I communicated. I kept my networking skills. I asked people questions. I like to get involved, and it was all based off a little small decision that I decided to do. So now, I want to ask you guys to really, really think about what social injustice you would really like to target and start learning about it and educating yourselves. Don't be ignorant about a certain topic, and really educate yourself and know what is the problem with that. What is that problem with that social concern? Why is it going on? Where did it start? Look at the history. How is it even impacted? Why are lawmakers making those policies? Why are they not looking at the bigger picture? Do they need more knowledge? Do they need more advocacy? Do they need more members from their community to speak on that topic? Yes, the answer is yes. So now my advice to you is to please ask around your community. Just look around, ask what is going on, what is impacting my community. It could be from anything, and please don't be afraid to get involved, to ask questions. Don't hesitate on asking others, how am I gonna get involved? To reflect back to Brookdale and all the advocacy work that I was doing, at my time at Brookdale, I was very privileged to get a scholarship to get through college. My parents didn't have to pay, and it was all based on me being able to get good grades, right? So there's a lot of students who graduated and didn't continue their education because they don't have financial aid. They didn't qualify for any financial aid. Their parents worked paycheck to paycheck jobs, housekeepers, gardeners, construction workers, or just restaurant owners, and it's just like, you know what? When you ask them, are you gonna continue your education? I don't have the financial needs. Or their first generation, they were like, I don't even know how to apply to financial aid. Okay, so a lot of people are left out of these opportunities. A lot of people started mobilizing on, we need financial aid. We pay taxes, so why can't we get financial aid? We were able to mobilize on financial aid, and New Jersey became one of the 13 states to, forgive me, it might not be 13, but it became one of the states to pass legislation on giving financial aid to undocumented students and DACA recipients. What are their qualities? They have to prove that they've been paying taxes. A lot of people say, oh, illegal aliens are getting financial aid, you're just paying free tuition, whatever, right? No, you have to educate people on they're paying taxes. They have to prove that they need that money. They have to prove that they're qualifying for that aid that is needed. So that's why, again, I say it's very important to educate others on these topics, educate yourself on what legislations are passing and how they're passing and who's qualifying for it. Again, I just want to thank you all for listening. I know it's not like, sometimes some people are like zoned out because it's not my certain topic. It is my topic. It may be my topic, you know. But really choose your topic, find your passion, and advocate on it. Whether it's from immigration rights to LGBT rights, and continue to spread awareness. Don't be afraid to like come out and show who you support. Like my friend said, who cares about losing followers? You care about a passion, you care about a certain topic, share it, retweet it, tell people you care about this topic, and don't be in denial of things that are going on. Just continue speaking out and care about one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And I know you made everybody at Brookdale really proud. Thank you. Next, we're going to have a team of two young women who are going to speak together. First, Sarah Emily Baum. Sarah is a native of Marlborough, New Jersey. I hope you get the trend here. Everyone is from our local community. These are your friends and your neighbors, these young people. She's from Marlborough, New Jersey, and she graduated from Marlborough High School in 2018. While in high school, Sarah was part of the Marlborough High School Choir, and we're very proud that they perform at our Yom HaShoah commemoration every year. So Sarah's been a part of Chhange for 4 years. After the Parkland shootings in February 2018, Sarah worked with other student upstanders throughout New Jersey to create March for Our Lives, New Jersey. As president of this organization, Sarah was an organizer for the March for Our Lives Newark March, which took place on March 24th in 2018. Sarah is a journalist whose work has been featured in numerous publications, including the New York Times, Teen Vogue, Huffington Post, the Miami Herald, and Sex, etc. She has almost completed her freshman year. She has one more exam at Hofstra Honors College in Long Island, where she is an active member of their Chabad. And Sarah will be joined by Christianah Akinsanmi. Christianah graduated from Howell High School's Fine and Performing Arts Center in 2018. After the Parkland shootings in February of 2018, Christy worked with other student upstanders throughout New Jersey to create March for Our Lives, New Jersey. Christy was an organizer and a speaker at that same march mentioned before, the March for Our Lives in Newark. While in high school, Christy was active in local theater, including performances at the Two River Theater in Red Bank. And recently, Christy was a participant in the Multicultural Leadership Institute and the Emerging Leaders Program at Rider University, where she is a freshman in the theater program. And it's my honor to introduce Sarah and Christianah.
Before we officially begin, I just want to make sure everyone's awake, everyone's alert. All right, how you all doing? You doing good? You just stretch out a little bit, put your arms up. All right, you ready to go? Okay, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Sarah Emily Baum, and I'm from Marlboro, New Jersey.
Hello, everyone. Oh, okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Christianah Akinsanmi. I'm from Freehold, New Jersey.
And we are the co-founders of March for Our Lives, New Jersey, the movement fighting to end gun violence, founded by student survivors of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, which left 17 students and teachers dead. Before we begin, I want to offer a disclaimer. We will be discussing sensitive themes of gun violence, suicide, mental health, and death. And if you need to step out at any time, that's okay. We understand. So first off, I want to tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to start by teaching you what March for Our Lives is and how this organization started. Then, we're going to show you how the gun violence epidemic affects every single person in America. And finally, we're going to let you in on the little-known secrets of being a teenage activist, the things our leaders, our principals, and our teachers, except of course for the ones in this room, might not want you to know, because they are what force authority figures into action. And if there's one thing that I learned while being a part of March for Our Lives, it's that asking nicely isn't usually enough to make meaningful change. I mean, don't get me wrong, we are a purely peaceful organization. We won't fight violence with violence, but sometimes you need to talk a little louder, fight a little harder, and show them what you're made of. You need to make it more inconvenient to ignore you than it is to give you what you are asking for. And we learned this from some of the best and brightest activists we know. Our friends, David Hogg, Emma Gonzalez, Jacqueline Corin, the founders of March for Our Lives.
So March for Our Lives started with a few kids on a living room floor who wanted to make a change. What began as a few local rallies with the hashtag Never Again turned into CNN town halls where Parkland survivors confronted representatives with the harsh realities of gun violence. That turned into trips of over 100 students in Florida to the Capitol to demand change. And when they got there, merely a week after surviving a mass shooting, Florida representatives slammed the door in their faces. And they were scared of these young people and what we were capable of. So the young people took it a step further. And from that small group of kids who started on the living room floor came March for Our Lives. Millions of people marched in hundreds of sister marches across the nation, demanding an end to gun violence and pushing our government towards meaningful change. No one expected or asked anything of these kids, but they understood the hidden power and potential they had, and through their movement shared it with us all. Students like me and Sarah understood that we were a part of this somehow as well, that we were responsible for the fate of Parkland because it was tied to our inaction. We saw the students of Parkland step up to the plate and call BS, and that's when we knew we could make a difference too. So we stepped up and we organized and we marched.
But school shootings didn't start or end with Parkland. After surviving the shooting at her school, Emma Gonzalez declared that Parkland would be the last school shooting. But less than a week later, there was another one, and then another one. And then just last week, Kendra Castillo, an 18-year-old from the STEM school in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, died tackling the gunman that walked into his classroom. The first school shooting, as we know it today, was the 1999 Columbine High School shooting where 15 people died and 21 more were injured. Me and Christianah hadn't even been born yet. The first school shooting I remember was the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. I was 12 years old, and I remember huddling in a band room in my middle school, right here at Marlboro Memorial Middle School, because my dad would later tell me they heard Sandy Hook Elementary and thought Sandy Hook, New Jersey, just a few minutes from my hometown. When they realized their mistake, they let us go, and we were none the wiser until we went home and turned on the TV to see 27 people dead, mostly young children, even younger than you. With so many school shootings, it's easy for the names and faces to become a blur. But that's how we become numb. That's how people that die end up fading into obscurity. It's easy for me to be invested because since joining March for Our Lives, I've made friends across the country who have survived gun violence. They're not statistics to me. They are my friends, and the other children who died, they are someone else's friends, or son, or daughter, or cousin. Kids like Alyssa Al-Hadaf, the freshman soccer player who loved visiting the Jersey Shore up in Long Branch, who died in her classroom in Parkland when a gunman opened fire. Or Chris Stone, a star football player who was shot holding the closet door closed to protect his peers from a gunman who came into his first period art class in Santa Fe, Texas. Or Josephine Gay, a 7-year-old girl with nonverbal autism shot in her classroom at Newtown Elementary School, wrapped in the arms of her behavioral therapist, Rachel Duvino, who also died in the shooting. But gun violence isn't just about school shootings, and neither is March for Our Lives. Gun violence is everyday violence. On the streets of cities like Newark, like Baltimore, like Chicago, gun violence is domestic violence. Women are 5 times more likely to die in an instance of domestic violence if there is a gun in the home. Gun violence is police brutality. Gun violence is mental illness because, little known fact, 2/3 of suicides are done via firearm. Gun violence impacts so many areas of our lives. Gun violence makes a bad situation worse. Gun violence knows no color, and yet, at the same time, young people of color are 5 times more likely than any other demographic to die from gun violence. It is an epidemic that kills 100 people in America every single day. And to put that in perspective, more children died from guns in America last year than did all active duty service members in battle last year, through all branches of the American military combined.
And the worst part is we couldn't do anything about it. Regardless of what your political views are, one thing for sure is for years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because after mass shootings, gun sales went up and gun manufacturers made a profit. Nothing has changed because gun lobbyists actively stopped the government from simply studying gun violence, not even passing laws or policy, but just studying it. Up until recent efforts by March for Our Lives activists, a federal law banned the government dollars from being used to fund gun violence research. People in power rely on ignorance to stay in power, and it's killing us. We approach this fight from 4 different angles: gun reform, mental health support, civic engagement among young people, and accountability among elected officials. Some of the policies we are currently pushing for: introducing background checks for gun owners, reducing capacity of firearms, funding gun violence intervention programs in inner cities, and etc. On a state level, we have already succeeded in increasing background checks and limiting gun capacities. On a national level, we are introducing more comprehensive gun reform. We are working to accomplish these changes through legislation and public awareness. These 2 things work together. We need the legislation to make the changes, but we can't get the legislation without informing the public. In an ideal democracy, the public informs the legislation. So, to change the laws, we have to talk to the public. We work with lawmakers, we work with policymakers, we work with professors to continually educate ourselves on the best avenues to achieve our goals. Communities gather together and we discuss our trauma and we learn how to heal together. March for Our Lives is a record-shattering youth movement that took the world and led to enormous change. But if there's one thing you can learn from everything that happened is that it just takes one person to make a movement, and it could be you.
I have been an activist basically since I was born because my twin brother Kyle has autism. Does anyone else here know someone with autism? Raise your hand. Yeah, a lot of you. So you probably know that the world can sometimes be unkind to people with disabilities. And I don't even just mean other kids on the playground. I mean people, adults who were supposed to help my brother were hurting him. And my family had to fight for him because he couldn't talk and fight for himself. At the same time, I was struggling with my own learning disability. I had ADD like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I would be talking to you and just tune out mid-sentence. You'd give me a Harry Potter book and I'd read it all night, but give me math homework and I'd also be up all night just staring at the paper. I remember being in elementary school, and pulling all-nighters to finish my homework. But I'd do it anyway because I was determined to get good grades no matter how hard I had to work, even if that was 10 times as hard as everyone else. I knew I would do it even if I had to work harder than those around me. And I was also struggling with my sexual orientation. I'm gay, and I came out when I was 12, and I was the only one I knew at the time who didn't identify as straight. I remember taking out LGBT-themed books from the school library and hiding it under all the papers in my bag so my mom wouldn't see. And I remember pretending to be in love with One Direction just to fit in with all my preteen friends and accidentally outing myself at my best friend's birthday party when someone got her a One Direction poster. And I was like, that's Louis, that's the one I'm gonna marry. And they're like, Sarah, that's Liam. And I was like, what's the difference? And like, I still don't know the difference. But that's besides the point. The point is, I felt alone, and I didn't want anyone else to have to feel like that. So when I got to high school, I became the president of the Gay Straight Alliance. And by the time I had graduated high school, I had done so many things with them. I had organized Day of Silence demonstrations. I had memorialized LGBT victims of suicide, done education initiatives. And also by the time I graduated high school, I had literally dozens of people come up to me, most of which I did not even know, in the middle of the hallway and just come out to me. And they'd say, Sarah, I'm gay, or I'm bi, or I'm trans, or I'm pansexual. And I didn't even know these people. But because I had the audacity to wear a little rainbow pin during Pride Month, because I had the audacity to refuse to change the pronouns in my love poems in creative writing class from her to him, because I had the audacity to be myself, people felt comfortable being themselves around me. And I saw right then and there the importance of being yourself and how that alone can be revolutionary. Even though I was bullied, even though girls were afraid to stand next to me in the locker room, even though boys sexually harassed me, I spoke out because I knew that it was an important thing to do.
For me, getting involved wasn't a conscious choice. It was something I felt I had to do. There were so many topics I wanted to get involved in, but I didn't really have any stepping stones. As for March for Our Lives, as it gained popularity, Sarah was an access point for me. I was able to get directly involved through her, and she gave me access and contacts to different people. Together, we created a system that not only helped our activism, but also the activism of other students as well. We got involved in marches and rallies with other students and adults. Students across the nation were rallying behind the Parkland students, and the movement grew. We were encouraged by adults who gave us a platform to speak, and from there it just took off. Getting involved was necessary for me. We saw there was an outcry for an answer to the violence, and we knew we could create something. And so we became a part of the New Jersey chapter of March for Our Lives. It was a lot of work though, not just preparing, but also the mental capacity that it takes to discuss these atrocities and advocate for a better world, but I didn't let that deter me. To me, activism is a sort of self-expression. It's what you stand for. Even though that's vague, I think it explains every sort of activism. In my case, I used spoken word and public speaking to advocate and fight for what I believed in. But activism can be anything as long as you're standing for something. We created a platform with March for Our Lives that targeted our greatest fears and tried to conquer them. It's like a child talking to the boogeyman. We wanted to create a conversation. And we had marches, events, increased awareness, used social media, and wrote thousands of articles, but we were really just trying to address something that was important to us. Activism is a choice. It's a decision you make with yourself whether something's important enough to fight for. It's a choice because even though I think it's necessary, it still takes willpower and effort to make progress. It's a choice because so many people are indifferent. And even though you need everyone to get together to change something, you don't need everyone to start a movement. You just need somebody willing to do the work. And I guess the choice is whether you're brave enough or strong enough or care enough to be that somebody.
So living in a world where we saw injustice, we saw heartache, that prepared us to lead the March for Our Lives New Jersey, and it wasn't always easy. When you're on a local level, a school level, you might get sneers and jabs from your fellow classmates. On a national level, we got death threats. I had people telling me my mother should have aborted me. I had people calling me stupid and ugly and a crisis actor, and telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about, that I was a tool for some nameless adult, as one very smart young person, Naomi Wadler, once said. And change is never invited. It is incited, and that is what I learned. You need to push for it. You need to be willing to ruffle a few feathers. That is what makes change. That is what's meaningful.
Being a Black queer woman, it was a political statement whether I wanted it to be one or not. And for a long time, that was my excuse. I looked at myself and I said getting involved was a way to protect myself, but in reality, it was so much more than that. My passion about my beliefs and my care for others drove me to action. You don't have to be directly involved to participate in activism. I took responsibility for what was happening in the world, not because it directly affected me, but because I wanted to be somebody who stood up for others. This is the passion that creates activists, who create movements, who create change. So, what do you need to be an activist? First, you need to get educated. Find ways you can learn most effectively. If you can use Netflix or YouTube to find documentaries that you're interested in, listen to podcasts. However you process information is valid, but you just need to learn as much as possible. Secondly, don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask parents or teachers or experts about anything you can do to get started, and start small. Don't make the first thing you do a giant national movement and march. Just start with a school rally or a petition, or volunteer with a group of individuals who are as dedicated as you are.
Next, you need to make a tangible plan of action, and you need to get specific. You must go in there armed with facts and statistics, not rifles. You must fight with these evidence and these facts, not with gunfire. You must have specific asks and requests for whatever cause you care about, be it gun violence, climate change, feminism, literally anything. Finally, you need to prepare for the long game, because that's what democracy is. Even among amazing victories and strides in this movement, we have a long way to go. We've had marches with millions of people worldwide. Gun laws passed for the first time in decades, but there were also losses. We saw candidates we did not want win elections. We saw laws antithetical to everything we believe in pass with flying colors. We were ignored. We had doors quite literally shut in our faces, and we had people laugh at and ridicule and threaten us. But we kept going, and that is what made the difference. Thank you. We have one more thing. We have one more trick up our sleeve. Not yet. All right. Wait, put us next tight. Do you want to go in? Okay, guys, so we're going to do one more thing. No, it's fine. Okay. Okay, we have one more thing for you guys. So we're going to give you a little preview of what it might be like to lead a rally. So there are a million different things you can do to get involved. Not everyone likes public speaking. You know, you can graphic design a website for a charity. You can have a bake sale, raise money like that. But we're going to show you a little preview of what it might have been like at the March for Our Lives, or any other protest or rally you might go to. So we're going to have everyone very quickly stand up if you can, if you're willing. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to lead you in a few chants. They're pretty nonpartisan, if you ask me. I think they're sentiments that everyone can get around. It's just about ending the violence, and it's about getting involved in our democracy, no matter what your views are, and March for Our Lives on anything. I think we can all rally around these. So we're going to start off with enough is enough. So ready? I'm going to point to you, and you're going to say, enough is enough. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Enough is enough.
Christy?
Enough.
Did you think that was loud enough? Do you think they believed it?
I wasn't into it. I was ready to get started.
Do you think that they can do better, that they can believe what they're saying, that we can end gun violence in schools? It's only stupid if you feel stupid. Just go all in, because I have this mic and they can't take it from me. Okay, everyone. On 3, you're going to say, enough is enough. 1, 2, 3. Enough is enough. One more time. Enough is enough. Louder. One last time. Enough is enough. All right, next one, very quickly. I'm going to say never, and you're going to say again, as in never again will we have to bury our friends too soon because they died in their classroom. So I'm going to say never, you're going to say again. Never.
Again.
Never.
Again.
Never.
Again.
Never.
Again.
Very good. One more, and this is the most important one. You can take it to any cause, any rally, wherever you go. This is probably the most important chant you will ever hear, you will ever learn. Take it with you for the rest of your life. I'm going to say, show me what democracy looks like. And you are going to say, this is what democracy looks like. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
And I want you to turn to your friend, your teacher, whoever's sitting next to you, and I want you to show them your face, your beautiful, bright, young face, and I want you to show them that this is the future, that this is what democracy looks like, okay? 1, 2, 3. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
I can't hear you. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful participatory audience. Have a great day. Shake my hand.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah and Christianah. Thank you all for participating with emotion. Okay, we have one more very important speaker, and her name is Rebekah Bruesehoff. Rebekah is 12 years old. Rebekah is a middle school student from Sussex County, New Jersey. When she was 7, Rebekah became depressed, and it was only after she reached a crisis point that she explained to her family her reasons for her depression. Although she was assigned male at birth, Rebekah knew in her heart that she was a girl, that she is a girl. Since affirming her gender as a girl, Rebekah has become an outspoken advocate for the rights of transgender people and gender nonconforming youth in New Jersey and throughout the United States. In 2017, at the age of 11, a photo of Rebekah holding a sign read, "I'm the scary transgender person the media warned you about." Her photo went viral. Rebekah and her incredible mom, Jamie, who's in the front row, have been instrumental in the passing of recent laws, including the Babs-Sipperstein law, which went into effect on February 1st. This law enables New Jersey citizens who have undergone a gender change to reflect their affirmed gender on their birth certificates. And in her spare time, Rebekah makes sure she plays what she enjoys most, field hockey and dancing. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Rebekah Bruesehoff.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebekah, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm in 6th grade. I play field hockey and run track. I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I love school. I also love cooking, mountain biking, and hiking with my family. When I grow up, I wanted to be an author and a teacher. That's pretty much me. Oh yeah, there's one other thing. I happen to be transgender. That means when I was born, everyone thought I was a boy, but I know I'm a girl. It's not about how I act or what I wear. It's who I am. I transitioned 4 years ago. I advocate for all human rights, but especially LGBTQ+ rights in schools, across the state, and around the world. To get to where I am today, I've gone through a ton of obstacles, just like every middle schooler. Growing up isn't easy, am I right? I struggle with the piles of homework and whatever's going on with my friends. I faced a lot of questions about my identity. Who am I? Is it okay to be me? Who will support me if they know who I am? At only 8 years old, I was dealing with stuff that many adults don't even understand. But other than those minor details, I've had a ton of support, and my parents have worked really hard to protect me from negativity. Then, when I was 10 years old, the federal government made some choices that made trans students less safe. They rescinded the guidelines for transgender students in schools. People were angry, upset, and scared. So was I. My mom volunteered to speak at a rally in protest, and the rally directors invited me to join her. I felt nervous and insecure, but I said yes. It was incredible to share my story with the 200 people there. But even more incredible was hearing other people's stories. That was the day when I realized not everyone has as positive an experience as I did. I heard from students who had to fight in their schools just to be called the right name and to be able to use the right bathroom. I talked to youth whose parents didn't support them. I listened to stories of bullying, discrimination, and even violence. Between the federal changes and everything I was hearing, I realized how much work there was to be done. At that rally, I had a sign that said, "I'm the scary transgender person the media warned you about." It was just me, a cute little girl with pink pigtails. I wasn't scary. That was the point. Transgender people aren't scary. We're just like other kids. We're just people trying to live as our authentic selves. My mom posted a picture of me and that sign, and it went viral. It was everywhere. I'd come home from school and my mom would tell me who wanted an interview today. Huffington Post, Teen Vogue. I got invited to speak at other places too. Suddenly, I had a platform, and I knew I needed to use it. I needed to use my voice for those who couldn't. I wanted trans youth to know that they aren't alone, that there are people out there fighting for them. I was going to fight for them. So that's what I do. I talk to legislators to make better laws for kids like me. I work to make schools safer for transgender and non-binary students. I speak publicly, raise money for organizations working towards equality, and tell my story wherever I can. I show up every day at school, in my community, at church, to remind everyone that transgender kids aren't scary. We're just like other kids. We need to be loved and supported. By being an out and proud transgender young person, I've learned that I can create a space for other kids to be themselves. This year, I testified before the state legislature in support of a bill that would require the school curriculum to include LGBTQ people and people with disabilities. It was powerful for legislators to hear from a student the impact this law would actually have. I told them how I loved learning about the country and its history. I've learned about immigrants and the Great Migration, brave soldiers and founding fathers. I've learned about the branches of government, the Bill of Rights and the Equal Rights Amendment. I've learned about the Holocaust and Anne Frank, Rosa Parks and the Civil Rights Movement. But I never see myself in the history they're teaching. I don't learn about advocates like me standing up for LGBTQ rights. I wish my school was teaching about the things like Harvey Milk and the Pride flag, Marsha P. Johnson and the Stonewall riots, and the fight for marriage equality. I wish my school was teaching about the ways that LGBTQ people have stood in the face of adversity and fought for equality, so that kids like me could have the life I have. LGBTQ students like me deserve to see people like us in history. It gives us role models. All students grow from learning about people who are different from us. It makes us better human beings, better friends, and classmates. I am proud to say that that bill was passed in December and signed into law by Governor Murphy on January 31st. It gives me hope to know that my classmates will now learn about how LGBTQ people have helped move our country forward, and that whatever impact I may make on the world might be included in history classes too. But even with big wins like this one, it's still hard. It's difficult to be yourself in a world that's always trying to shove you in a box or asking you to be someone else. But this is what I know. You don't have to be an adult to make a difference in the world. Start with using your voice. Speak up. I've been doing this since I was this big. One time in preschool, my brother said that he wanted to marry his best friend. The teacher told him he couldn't because they were both boys. I said, yes, he can. Boys can marry boys, girls can marry girls. Marry whoever you want. I was 5 years old. The teacher was a little shocked, but then she said, oh yeah, you're right. I want you to know that your voice matters, right now. There are so many ways to advocate for LGBTQ youth. Does your school have a GSA? A Queer Straight Alliance? Join it. If not, maybe you're the person to start one. Learn more about LGBTQ people. Learn about what's happening in the news with LGBTQ rights. Go to a Pride event this June to show your support or celebrate your own identity. Speak up when someone says something negative about LGBTQ people. Break down these stupid gender boxes that society wants to shove us in. Be any kind of human you want to be. People always tell me I'm brave for being myself. Maybe, but I hope for a world where everyone can bravely be themselves in all their uniqueness. I want a world where people are not just tolerated, but they are celebrated. No matter their gender identity, sexuality, or anything else. We can make that happen. It starts with showing up as your whole self, whether you're LGBTQ or not. Stop trying to fit in. I get messages every single day from kids who see me out here just being me, and they tell me how that inspires them. It inspires them to come out to their friends or family. It inspires them to stand up for their LGBTQ friends. It inspires them to celebrate who they are, whoever that is, because they know they aren't alone. What would it look like if you showed up fully as yourself, in all your wild uniqueness? If you weren't afraid, imagine the change you might inspire. Imagine how much more beautiful our hallways, our classrooms, and our world might be. Imagine the beautiful diversity. Maybe you're not LGBTQ, and that's cool. But you have things that make you uniquely you too. You showing up and shining your light encourages other people to shine. And that creates the kind of world I want to live in. Thank you.
All five of you stand up. Wow. We have heard from 5 incredibly talented, motivated people. Thank you so much. And you out there in the audience, you know how hard it is what they're doing. You know that, but you can do it too. Remember, all of their actions started with small actions. They started small and built on it. You can do the same thing. And every small action you take to help another person makes a huge difference. Today, when you leave, all your teachers have been given action cards. On those cards, you will find information about how to contact our speakers, find them on the internet, their websites, etc. Make sure you get those cards, and it also has suggestions of small ways that you can begin to make a difference. So please remember to ask for them when you get back to school. Today, Chhange is proud to open our 6th annual student art installation, also called We Are the Change, Our Voices Matter. It's on display at the Center for Visual Arts, which is at the opposite end of the pathway here, only about a 4-minute walk. Please make sure to visit the installation before you leave campus. It reflects the collaborative efforts of hundreds of middle school, high school, and college students throughout New Jersey, many of them here today. The challenge that Chhange gave to these students was to share their thoughts, their beliefs, their feelings about an issue in our community today. And you and your peers came back with 26 different concerns, ranging, as I said, from anxiety, depression, alcohol abuse, homelessness, human trafficking, pollution, you name it, you guys hit on it, and you are concerned. So please, their art says it all. Make sure you see it. It will be open today, and after today, we are happy to open it for you, but you'll have to call Chhange to make the visit. Our center and our permanent exhibit are closed today. So teachers and administrators, we have opened the book already for reservations for next year. Please be in touch, and we invite all of you to come visit our exhibit. Just give us a call ahead of time. We're happy to welcome you there anytime that Chhange is open. Some final directions for you. A word about your workshops. As we leave this arena, note that all the workshops take place in buildings directly off this back pathway. The Student Life Center is on the left. All of the other buildings, Mann, Mac, and Mass, are on the right. There are people in the pathway to help you with directions should you need them. You have 15 minutes to get to your workshops. They will begin at 11:30. It's plenty of time. Buses leave from parking lot 6, so return to this area at the end of the day. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you at the art, and please enjoy your workshops.
Sorry, same idea.